Hey everybody, this is Brett, and tonight I'd like to continue with reading Healing with Whole Foods by Paul Pitchford from the section How Many Meals, 1, 2, or 3 that I started the other day. And we're up to 2 meals per day, and I do have permission from Paul Pitchford to read this. The 2-meal daily schedule is optimum for most people who have adjusted to a grain and vegetable diet. In the morning, there should be an hour or two after rising before eating so that the body and internal organs can gradually adjust from a state of dormancy to more active energy. In any case, wait until hungry before eating. Often hunger will not occur until several hours into the morning. According to biological rhythms portrayed by the Chinese clock, the hours between 7 and 9 a.m. are the optimal time to eat, since they are the most active time for the stomach. Although 9 to 11 a.m., the interval when pancreatic activity is emphasized, is also a good time, if this is when hunger signals. This meal should be moist enough to help with morning dehydration and must also have sufficient calories, protein, and carbohydrates to support one in the warmest and most active part of the day, the afternoon. The first meal should be larger than the second and should be prepared with more water. For example, if cereal creams such as rice cream are eaten, they are normally prepared with several times more water than the whole unmilled grain. And if unmilled grains are included, they too can be cooked with extra water. In general, the first meal of the 2-meal schedule can contain lightly cooked or raw items. An exception is made for persons with signs of coldness or deficiency. They should have at most only minor amounts of raw or lightly cooked foods. The second meal can be in the mid-afternoon or later, preferably before sunset or 7 p.m., whichever comes first. With sunset, the body receives the signal to begin more internal metabolic and hormonal processes, and the stomach is considered an exterior organ, compared with the liver or pancreas. 7 p.m. also initiates the weakest period of time for the stomach. We have seen the best therapeutic results from eating the last meal earlier in the afternoon, around 3 or 4 p.m. This allows a good 9 hours before the time of heightened activity of the liver. As the second meal is moved later in the day, which is necessary for many working people, its quantity should become less. When later meals are eaten, it is best to stay up for at least 4 hours afterward. The last meal should be smaller in quantity since the inactive part of the day is approaching. It should also contain more cooked food because of the night's cool and internal qualities. Therefore, the last meal naturally includes inner directing food. Root vegetables and concentrated proteins such as lentils or tempeh can be emphasized. These are general tendencies and do not mean that the first meal cannot contain protein and root vegetables. Now, this is largely a macrobiotic approach, but not totally, and it comes from someone that studied Asian cultures and tendencies, and so it's not set in stone. Nothing is set in stone, okay? And I think that if a person's body is accustomed to eating fruit, that's probably the best morning meal. More so in the summertime, definitely. And he teaches all that in the book, to know the seasons, what's in season, and to hopefully eat locally. And when you get to a point of where your diet is more advanced, then you can start to utilize all this knowledge about eating specific types of foods in the morning or the afternoon or the evening. But remember to just listen to your body mostly. That's the most important part. And if you get low blood sugar and it's 10 p.m., then you need to go get a snack, And if you're really tired, then you are not going to be able to stay up for 4 hours after eating that food. So, these are all things that we want to aspire to be able to do. Not all of it, but for the most part, we aspire to be able to have this lifestyle and this diet that are just like very flowing and consistent, So I think I'm going to continue to read the 3-meal schedule. The 3-meal per day plan is perhaps most practical for the greatest number of people. When one has grown up with the rhythm of 3 meals, it is best to stay with this rhythm until the body signals it is time for a change. Okay, so just listen to your body. This normally occurs when the pancreas, liver, adrenals, and other organs are sufficiently healed so that blood sugar levels are stabilized. Once stability is reached, one will usually be hungry only 2 times a day. The 3-meal plan reflects most people's low blood sugar conditions and also clearly delineates the 3 periods of the day. Optimally, the first meal is taken during the stomach interval between 7 and 9 a.m., but of course not until hunger is felt. Like the first meal of the 2-meal plan, it is ideally warm and prepared with ample water, but it does not need the variety of raw or lightly cooked items since it only takes one through the cooler time of the day. A raw cleansing option is described later. This should be a simple meal. A typical example is mild miso ginger soup and 1 grain such as oatmeal or sweet rice cream. The second meal, usually at noon or shortly thereafter, can be the largest meal of the day. It requires more variety, and for those who are neither cold nor deficient, it is the best time to eat cooling foods such as salad, since it must balance the hottest and most active part of the day. The afternoon is when blood sugar levels dip to their lowest point. The last meal should be the smallest. It is cooked and ideally contains a concentrated protein such as legumes, nuts, seeds, dairy, or if needed for deficiency, other animal products. It is eaten at least 4 hours after the second meal and preferably before 7 p.m. Okay, so I'll do another video for this next section entitled The Morning Elixir later. But in regards to that last part, if you're somebody that still needs dairy, and you're still eating that, he recommends that to be for the last meal of the day. And, I had to get away from dairy a long time ago because that was just really clogging my body. Wheat and dairy were really clogging my body. And if you're, especially if you're deficient, the wheat clogs your small intestine and really prevents you from absorbing nutrients. So you really need to get away from the glutinous grains. And I don't do well on oats, either, even though that particular gluten is not the same as wheat, barley, or rye gluten. It's a different kind of a gluten that they say a lot of people are okay with. I don't do well on oats at all. You may do okay. And same with the soy, the tempeh, a whole lot of people, including myself, don't do well on soy. And I minimize it to just occasional uses of soy sauce. And even fermented soy like tempeh or tofu, I don't do well on that at all, So, thanks for joining me. I hope this has helped you and given you some insight. Be well.